The State of the Nation Address. Yes. A State of the Nation Address. A State of the Nation Address. Embeera yeggwanga nga bweyimiridde ng'omukulembeze agyogerako. That is what they call a State of the Nation Address. Bw'oba mu nsinga eyaffe eri hybrid, where we have a presidency and a parliament, nga tulina president alina full executive powers ne cabinet, nga ate tulina ne parliament, awo osanga nga bakola kye bayita the State of the Nation Address, ngeno bwefaanana oba bwebaddewo mu Uganda. Ate mu nsi nga United Kingdom wabeerawo kye bayita state opening of parliament, nga queen ajja n'ayanjula gavumenti ye ng'agoberera ebyo ebyanjulwa gavumenti eri mu buyinza. There is a difference between, it's the same notion, State of the Nation Address, State of the Opening of Parliament, like in Britain, Australia, New Zealand, and countries that are similar. Then finally, what we would call the State of Union. America bagita the State of Union Address, kubanga America is a federation of states. Chovola bantu bagita State of the Union Address. So ebyo njagala musooke mumanye nti naye kye tuwogerako kyo ki. What is this that we are talking about? What exactly does it mean? From a layman's understanding, if tomorrow they tell you that it's constitutional for the head of state to present what they call the State of the Nation, is there any way the head of state can evade it? No. The answer, it's a constitutional duty. Now, coming back home, omuntu singa akubuuza the State of the Nation. The State of the Nation Address is conducted once every parliamentary year. Coming back to Uganda, the State of the Nation Address is conducted once every parliamentary year, which is called the opening up of a session of Parliament. Parliament, ebeera ne session. This session is comprised of meetings, and meetings are comprised of sittings. That is why in Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, and those countries today, we had the State of the Nation Addresses. That would mean periodically oba ekitegeeza nti aba omukulembeze officially agulawo functionality of the three arms of government. In governance, tutandika ne retreat of the judiciary to state its annual terms and goals of the year. Then president addresses parliament in order to present the functionalities in every particular year, nga zirimu facts of the three arms of parliament. Three arms of government, which would include the executive. Ye yerimu president, neba minister be. Netuberamu ne legislature, ye yerimu members of parliament. And finally, the judiciary. That is why when the president or any president giving a State of the Nation or a State of the Union address comes out and states clearly that I'm here to present the performances and the functions and the achievements of this government in the past single year. The reason as to why our State of the Nation, in order to see that in a democracy, the president must come out mandatorily at least once a year to speak to the nation, but speak to it through parliament. Abampuliriza oba bali abandaba eyo gye bayita State of the Nation Address. Bweba mu America gye bayita State of the Union Address. Why? Because America is a federation of states. It's a federal. United Federal States of America, United States of America. So nga ate buli state ebeera ne gye bayita State of the Union Address. Governor we Texas akola the State of the State of the Nation Address, the State Address. Eya state yeyo gyayina eyiye eye California, owe Texas, owa New York, ne states endala. So here in Uganda, it should be the State of the Nation as presented by the president. Kakati nkakasa abasinga kumwe mutegedde oli andyebuuziza state of the nation yeki kyovola nti omuntu yenna abeera mu klasi yange mubaamu okuyiga ate sisuubira nti wabaayo amanyi ennyo abantu bonna mbatwalira wamu so that people learn, people get to understand what we are exactly talking about. Therefore, what would that shape? It would shape what you would expect the president to talk about in the State of the Nation address. The performance of the entire government, the government in its entirety. Oba otuwa brief summary about what the government has done vis-a-vis in comparison okugerageranya to the promises it made at the beginning of the year. When does the government make promises? Does it make promises in the State of the Nation address? No. The government makes promises through the budget speech. Chovoraba ntibasoka the State of the Nation address, then after that nebakola immediately budget speech. Egwanga liri bweriti. The state is in such a position. Then after you reflect it in the budget speech. That is why it is very sad or it is very wrong for someone to make a critique of a State of the Nation address before someone addresses the nation. In short, oyina okulinda ayina executive powers nakola the State of the Nation address, then you come out as pundits, you come out as analysts, you come out as contributors, you come out as stakeholders to give your view of the state of the nation. One, that is why we start with the following. Bobo yogera ku state of Uganda today. You start with the boundaries of Uganda. You start with what we call the national security of Uganda. Botandiko gamba nti the state of the securities nation in terms of peace and security is ABCDE. Our borders are secure. We are not fighting any incursion. We had terror threats from here. No zogere ezaliwo in the past years. And the response of government and how much money it spent in responding to those terror attacks or to the foreign threats and internal threats. How do you define security? Security is comprised of the foreign threats vis-a-vis the internal threats. That is why we have foreign security in defense, then we have what we call homeland security, internal security. Now, that is bundled into three. What has been the contribution of the legislature? What has been the contribution of the judiciary? And what has been the contribution of the executive? Let us go to internal security. The president was expected to talk about the past killings, murders, rape and crime that was in the city, thefts and others. One, the numbers, how his government did ABCDE, maybe installed cameras, did XY, increased in the budget of intelligence to curb crime, to arrest crime, and show the figures that the country's crime rate has come down. Then applaud the judiciary for the number of cases in case of criminal that they have disposed of by saying his government maybe has apprehended the following number of criminals on capital offenses. The following was on were arrested on misdemeanors. The following cases were successfully prosecuted. The following are still ongoing. A, B, C, D, and E. That is internal security. House to house or community policing is on its high. We've encouraged, we expended this money, we empowered the police, we recruited this number of police officers, we recruited the following number of cadets. The ratio of officers or of security personnel to every individual is maybe 1 to 50,000. However, my government is doing everything possible to see to it that there is a quicker response, but also to see to it that we deter crimes earlier on. Ayinza okwogera ng'ebintu ku violence, oba gun violence, drugs, homicides, n'ebirala. Olwo ayogedde ku the state of the nation ku internal security. Then n'ayogera ku foreign threats. N'ayogera ku foreign threats n'agamba batwalina foreign threats in form of the Allied Democratic Forces, in form of the Lord Resistance Army. However, we committed this number of troops as Commander-in-Chief. I committed this number of troops. I spent this kind of money, and that threat has been either neutralized or it has been wiped out, and Uganda's borders are safe as compared to last year or this year. Then n'ayogera nti internally the biggest challenge kati ebaddewo has been the road carnage. But oba nebaza parliament and they're following for the following interventions: installation of speed governance, this and this and this, this and this and this. That is the state of our national internal affairs. Now, that is the test of where you see a leader. A leader comes to the state of the nation to clearly state where the nation is security-wise, because they swear when they are sworn in, their oath is to protect the people and their property, protect persons and their property, then protect the Constitution of the Republic. Now, this is the difference. So, if you're looking for a leader who is grounded not only in sense but also judgment, then when you're addressing people on the state of the nation, you start with such things. Or those are some of the things that are expected from what a leader must speak on the state of the nation. That is one, peace and security. So, are Uganda's borders much more secure than what they were before? The other thing I would have expected was to talk about the easing of the lockdown and the recovery, the state of the nation's economy and health, the social capital that we had vis-a-vis the economic strains that we have post-COVID. Then state clearly as an intervention that we passed the NSSF Act, Amendment Act, where we agreed to give part of the benefit to people that are above a certain age. Then clearly state that the government is willing to also engage those small players who had saved with the National Social Security Fund so that you roll it out to create a stimulus. So, in this address, they fell short of talking about health and recovery from COVID. Talk about the challenges that were there during COVID era in health. Vaccination. How many people to this point have been vaccinated? That is the state of the nation. How many people are now dying due to COVID? How many survived? How many died? Ask people to stand up, or parliamentarians, to observe a moment of silence for those that fell due to the pandemic. Now, that is what distinguishes between a leader that cares and a leader that doesn't completely care. Then, as a result, you talk about the state of the nation's economy by giving facts. In a State of the Nation address, we talk about facts. We don't just gamble by coming up and saying this and this will happen. You don't pick here and there. Talk about the state of the nation's economy. How was the economy? How is it now? The state of our currency. How strong was our currency? How is it getting devalued? What are the plans that will be reflected in the budget to see to it that we strengthen our currency? How do we strengthen our currency? By encouraging exporting more and importing less. We cannot talk about the increased prices in goods and services. Ngogenda mukatale gwenga toina kyotuteyo. So genda mukatale ngogamba bakuseera. Goods are expensive. Naye gwe otuteyo ki? Omuwarabu bw'aba aweereza wano crude oil. Gwe naawe seera emmwanyizo. Seera ky'oyina. Naye awulire pinki eyo osobola okuraisinga sente nyingi ezisobola okumugulako amafuta. Now, that is the state of the nation. The challenges that were there before, the challenges that you're facing now, and how do you think you'll surmount them. And that should be reflected in the budget speech that is to follow. Era buli president kyayogera awunzika agamba nti after stating the challenges that we have, I implore you to listen to the next budget speech as it will address the challenges that we have at the moment. So, so this is a clear battle of not only brains, but preparedness and also governance. Therefore, listening to the speeches that have been around, none lived up to the expectations of that extent. The challenges of the day, the state of the nation. So, the other challenges that we have, other than the increased food prices, of course, we have a surge of refugees that are coming as a result of the conflict in Congo. Therefore, kwogera ku challenges of how you're going to handle these refugees, integrate them in society, help them, because it's the responsibility of all countries to help and host refugees. But also, what solution can the East African Federation come out with together to address the insurgencies in Congo, either by creation of a joint standby force to address the matter, or by the intervention of the combined forces residing in the Interlacustrine region in the Great Lakes. Because we have challenges in South Sudan that is not highly stable. It was one of our biggest consumers of goods. Therefore, abantu obalage that even the increase of prices alone might not be a challenge on its own. Kubanga, there has also been an increase in the prices of what we produce more. For example, Uganda has 14 million heads of cattle. On an annual basis, we can supply over 2 million heads of cattle in the form of processed beef and beef products to the following countries. At the moment, the cost of beef, a kilo of beef in Egypt is over $15. So if Uganda signed a long-term contract with Egypt to export a given number of tons of beef, Uganda can increase its balance of payments through earnings. How? If we exported over 1 million tons of beef, I'll give you an example, and each ton costing, let's say, $1,000 for argument's sake, you'll earn about $1 billion on your balance of payments. Now, that will be Egypt expending more in form of foreign exchange to Uganda for something Uganda did not trade for. Now, that is giving viable solutions. We can increase our exports of tea. Why? Because there is a cartel of tea being run in Mombasa. All the tea that is produced in Uganda is taken for auction in Mombasa, and you can see the balance of payments. Kenya exports Uganda's repackaged tea and gets $167 million directly. Foreign direct trade payment indices clearly show that Kenya earns $167 million from trading tea it repacks partly from Uganda. Okay, I know they also produce tea, but not as much as that it is, as they portray. Nebafunamu $167 million per annum, compared to the total exports of Uganda to Egypt, which are about $70 million. Now, if Egypt Air comes about 4 times to Uganda, comes full and leaves half empty to Egypt, how can we replace the 1.5 tons that fly back empty from Uganda to Cairo? Replace them by beef and beef products. The beef that is eaten in Cairo is imported from Brazil. The beef and chicken that is eaten in Congo is imported from Brazil. The same to Angola. So Uganda can be one of the leading exporters of milk and of beef. The United States of America has been having a challenge of what we call the baby formula, the milk for the babies. It's in form of powder with some, some ingredients added. and preservatives, Uganda can take leverage in exportation of baby formula by one, because abantu babagulako amata very cheaply. So if the exporters are China teina ante nga Uganda zeina, ezaffe ziri ebintu biri organic. Now you've had the problem of the factory in Michigan that closed in the United States of America or suspended its production, and it has been all over the news. So what can Uganda enhance its production with? Helping these farmers learn how to graze cattle properly. Then the buyers of milk obutasera ba farmers, then we add value to this milk and produce baby milk. World demand for baby milk is more than $1 trillion. $1 trillion. So if Uganda can produce baby formula, even if it's fed in Africa alone and Asia, and then Europe, which is grappling to find this milk, we can increase, and I can tell you, we can increase our balance of payments and earn a lot. Now, these are some of the things where we have to sit down, and then everyone say, tulinda government ekitegenda chikole. So, those friends of ours in the diaspora, think around these areas as well. Because wealth is not built by governments. Governments provide an environment. So if they don't provide it, do not think you will not start it yourself. You have to do it yourself. I've given you an example of beef products, beef and beef products. I've given you an example of milk. You can check out in Congo. Kilo yenyama eri mitwalo mukaaga etaano. Okufuna obufunyi sausage ya beef e Congo. Webatuukira okulya n'enkima. I'm telling you, this is a big deal. And they no longer tax products that are coming from within the East African community, because now they are part of it, mainly agricultural products. But the same happens in South Sudan. You understand? The same happens in Khartoum. The same happens in Nigeria. Therefore, if we can produce milk formula for babies, we will have a big leverage. But the biggest problem we have is how we market ourselves. Therefore, the president, on talking about tourism and Uganda marketing herself, can start by stating this, that we've been having a challenge with having Uganda known. Most of you that are there outside did not see the advantage of Rwanda advertising on an Arsenal shirt and PSG. Now, those... For me, I applauded it. People said, watch your government Rwanda, you know, advertising. That was visionary. Nice vision from President Kagame. Extremely brilliant. There is something he's doing right that these other people do not seem to get. He knows maybe his country does not have the resources, but they have to use the brains sharply. And kudos, President Paul Kagame. The fact that you put Visit Rwanda on a t-shirt of Arsenal means a lot. 1.5 billion people in the world watch the Premier League, and at least 1 billion watch Arsenal. And at least Arsenal has over 400 million supporters, whatever the number is. Every one of them knows Visit Rwanda. So when you talk about Uganda now, they say, Rwanda, Uganda, Rwanda. Now, the fact that this word called Rwanda is in the ears of people, that is one of the sharpest and the best moves that President Kagame made. Don't look at the money. 20 million pounds is nothing that they pay per annum. So Uganda should go outside there and push and move for something that can give visibility to this country. It cannot be defined by riots. It cannot be defined by arrest and abuse of human rights. Uganda cannot be defined by torture. There must be something that is deliberate to market Uganda. And you will not market the gorillas. The name first. First market the name. Then when someone talks about Africa, they talk about, Uganda on this Barcelona shirt. Do you know how many fans Barcelona has? Do you know how many fans Real Madrid has? So, to give it $30 million a year, my friends could not understand it. But the image for a country, for let's say, Real Madrid, or let's say huge soccer clubs in the United States of America, icons of that nature. But bringing here celebrities once in a while, it's good, but it's not absolute. So I can tell you, you can argue, you can throw all sorts of arguments, but I can tell you Rwanda has benefited from the fact that it put out itself to be known. It doesn't matter for what reason. First, get known. The moment you get known, then the rest will fall into place. Talking about coffee. Now, that was part of the economy. The president admitted that, yes, he's the one who got into this coffee debacle. But we can tell you, Mr. President, now you realize you're not with the coffee farmers. My advice would be, Mr. President, Museveni, is that grow your own coffee and get someone to sell it for you. That's it. It's better advice. Just grow your own coffee, because you cannot determine a price for someone's property. It's unconstitutional. Whether it was done in good faith, we can tell you what you did was absolutely wrong. It is uncalled for. It is not popular. It is not right. Now, what we can do, get all the coffee stakeholders, meet them. I believe they can add value to their coffee. We have very many manufacturers, guys that we are adding value to coffee. You should have called them. You normally hold what we call the round table meeting for investors and manufacturers in Uganda. I thought their chairperson in that round table meeting that you hold, the breakfast meeting annually, would have told you or would have guided you that what you're doing is absolutely wrong. Finally, if we got the challenge that like we had during COVID-19, the president would be talking about digitization of the nation, that now we shall digitize Uganda, having known that people can study remotely, they can work remotely, promote digital literacy, digitization, to start it from lower schools, digital transformation of the country. Like I've been talking, look at the story of South Korea, look at the story of Singapore, look at the story of X, Y, and Z. That would help. Finally, the shortfall in tax collection. We had a shortfall in tax collection because of X, Y, and Z. How are we going to bolster it? You say what you did. The president would be talking about the achievement that was made, signing the ECOP. That was an amazing achievement in the front of oil. The earlier Uganda builds its pipeline and it starts pumping its oil, or refinery, and starts refining its oil, the better. It will put Uganda in a position where it will not need to beg for one of the key players in inflation, which is fuel, but also would improve on its balance of payment. But the head of state would have come out carefully to warn Ugandans for not relying on the promise of oil, for using what they have. If you're a coach, you use the little you have for delivery. So as you wait for the oil, let us improve X, Y, and Z. There is ICT. Ugandans can talk about the employment indices. People would have expected the president to talk about the unemployment, that the following jobs were created in the last financial year. We opened up the following number of factories. Government increased this. Government took up, let's say, Uganda printers. In so doing, it increased jobs by this number. So, all said and done, that is what we stand for when we talk of the state of the nation. Okay. You'll sympathize with us. So the level of connectivity is a huge challenge in the country. The internet is not working at its best. These are things they would be talking about. We have expensive internet. Our taxes will definitely go high. But explain to the Ugandans, in the last 5 years, last 10 years actually, we were talking about the standard gauge railway. So now it has died out from the State of the Nation address. So these are things that the president must come out and account for and say, we talked about the state of the standard gauge railway, we identified investors, we are starting. But Ugandans have been paying part of their import duty to ring fence this money for the standard gauge railway. Where is it for the last 10 years? Because this was the law that was passed. So these are things we can talk about. With improvement of infrastructure, prices will go down. Yes, but that is in the long run. Ugandans want to know what is there for them in the short run, in the medium term. The reality is, if we want prices to basically go down, we have to improve our production. But which goods should we produce? Where do we have a leverage? What are our people at the embassies doing in capturing markets for us? Are they there really? What are the trade attaches at the embassies exactly doing? These are some of the things we should be talking about, that we have posted the following number of trade attaches in different embassies. Where are the different ties that we've built in South America, in East Africa, in Southern Africa? How much trade do we have with our neighbors? Okay? We are a landlocked country. Where is our leverage? So these are the things we talked about, okay? So someone is talking about the fuel. Yes, we brought a proposal to reduce taxes on fuel. It did not go through in Parliament. You win some, you lose some. That's it. So we don't have the numbers. We lost it. I thank the members who tried to support us, but we lost it. That's absolutely as plain as that. Everywhere in all countries, they are now having fuel challenges. You know, the cost of gas, you know, we have to accept that inflationary indices, inflation is at unprecedented rates everywhere, whether in Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, Zambia, Angola, mention every single country. I think those that have actually absorbed shock should be in the Middle East, and those that are relying on huge reserves of oil. Why? They are making tremendous profits. They are buying in bulk and storing a lot. We don't have buffer stocks. In economics, muchimanyi ebyaji. Boba oyina plenty otereka. Ebeyi bwerinnya n'ojjayo n'oteeka ku market. So kati tetulina buffer stocks mwabisomangako mu economics. So the fact that we don't have buffer stocks, that's it. We have no solution at the moment. For as long as the war between Ukraine and Russia is going on, and we can call upon the powers that may be, Africa is going to pay a huge price, I can tell you. A huge price. And you can brace yourselves for around 2-3 years of recovery. I can tell you, you're going to see very many foreclosures. Banks are going to foreclose on many people's properties. And the best thing is that, where is our COVID recovery fund? We received over $1 billion, 1.5 for economic recovery. This money was put in UDB, but we can tell you the president must come up, or the Minister of Finance immediately, to tell us who got this money. Abantu abanaku abatasobola kwetuukira be batutteko amasomero tebasobola kugenda kufuna zino sente ziri ku interest rate eya 6-7%. Mukiraba kakati abalala bali eyo. Naye yes, tusobola oku appreciate nga wabaddewo loans ze bawava farmers through Post Bank is about 12,000 farmers be bazifunye. But when you look at the number of farmers in Uganda, we have over 7 million farmers. So if only 12,000 have managed to access this money, then it's a huge concern. We should look at recapitalizing Post Bank to help farmers. It's the only bank that Uganda government owns 100%. It has an outreach. These are things we should be talking about, or attracting investors to get in their money rather than expending our taxpayers' money. With those few remarks, ladies and gentlemen, why don't you let me waliwo agenda okuddayo ekolyamugamba nti obiwulidde mu State of the Nation. Lwaki temunzikiriza n'empisaawo kone kano? Bakwano bange, baganda bange aba boda boda, mbaagala nnyo era mbenyumirizaamu lwa nsonga emu. Mwatunda ebyammwe nga mubuliddwa emirimu ne mujja mutandika omulimu gw'okusaabaza abantu. Naye tubeegayirira mugoberere amateeka. Baleese statistics ez'abantu abaakatemebwako amagulu, abavuzi ba boda ne be basaabaza, nga you've caused more harm than good. Ekyamazima kyekyo. Kituufu mutaasa obulamu bw'abantu, nammwe munoonya kyakulya, naye ate ekyamazima tuggwaawo olw'abamu abavuga obubi. Remember wa boda omu akola accident ne mufiiramu abantu 4 mu mmotoka gwatomedde gwayitako ono gwavuga n'amutwala nga ate naye amuddusa. Bannange mbeegayiridde mbaagala nnyo era njagala mukola omulimu gwamu naye ate tubaagala nga muli balamu kubanga mummwe mwe muli baganda baffe bakoddomi baffe naye twayiseeko emulaga eggulo. Subhanallah, abantu abaweddewo bangi. Omwana omulungi n'akeera enkya nga yalaba mulungi n'agenda n'atambulira ku boda bugenda okutyo enkeera nga bamugamba okugulu kwavuddeko. Mbegayiridde vuga mpola, toyina gy'odduka gy'olaga. Ekitaala tokiyitako. Mbutuufu obala ku Jinja Road musala busazi bwe muti ewandege. Mbaagala naye ate temwetta ate era temutta n'abantu balala. Nze nsobola okubagamba kuba munaye nammwe tubaagala muli balungi n'omulimu gwe mukola mulungi. Naye ate mugenda kwetta ate mwette n'abantu abalala olwa waasiwaasi. Yambala helmet teina kyekujjako. Ate namwe abasaabaze bw'oba onoolinnya boda tambula ne helmet yo. Ne twasanze abawala 3 emitwe gyatise bakava ku graduatinga n'omugabo mwana omuto naganda badde nva wandegeya oba yabakubira nga ku gundi ku Bombo Road omutwe gwatise tagenda kuddawo. Please, munsi muno toyina gy'odduka nnyo mbwangu gy'olaga. If you can take your time and go slowly, ovudde ebweru ovudde mu America oli musama, please. Obulamu bwo buli insured. Bw'aba wa boda agenda okuvuga tomumanyi muleke. Neno olaba omuntu nga bamuyisa ku bitaala ate nga naye aseka busesi. Boda bwegwa n'omenyeko okugulu kubanga remember ku boda gwoba bode yaayo. Weegwira bweti kugulu kweiza kumenyeka ekigere ne ate kyebeeyigidde mu malwaliro aba waakatuuka nga batemako okugulu. Emikono bagitemyeko n'olaba omuntu eyabadde awo mu wiiki emu nga ogamba lubega tye lecturer weegundi tye bamutemyeko omukono. Okwagala okwanguyiriza owa boda genda mpola sente ezo zennyini ojja zisanga. Opapya omuntu ono n'akuyisa ku bitaala n'omusuula waatuuse ate n'osanga ng'olina okulinda toyina gojjawo. Kati obadde opapaki. Era oli bw'agikwata naga papa ayita kubita muga ssebo vaako genda ofune endala. Kubanga obulamu tebuli tradable. There is no trade. Tewaliwo short change ku bulamu bwo. So baganda bange mbaagala nabalwanirira nnyera mbalwanirira okukola n'ate era nammwe mubeere nga mulinga aba mweyise ng'abantu. Rolo y'abakulembeze kulembera wiridi nyina okugamba nti wano tuwaba. Boda mbi simbi, boda nnungi nnyo kubanga ziyambako eno gavumenti yasulawo obuvunaanyizibwa bwayo obwa public transport. Abantu emirimu ne gibabula ne batunda ebyabwe bajje bavuge boda okufuna daily income. Naye ate nammwe aba boda wajja kunoonya daily income ate olinga zo okwetta. Bw'oba owulira ng'oli bwangu gwe genda wette naye omusaabaze muleke. Muleke. Kubanga mujja kuleetera ab'emitima emibi abaagala okubagoba bakozese ekyo nti mu myaka 10 abantu abalemadde ku lwa boda bali 30 mu Uganda. Gwe yennamba osobola ogikkiriza 300,000. Byebisaawe bya Namboole nga bijjudde ebisaawe ebitaka wansi wa 5 ne baba ku paradingirawo nga kati bali mu Bugaali nga bagamba nti oyo Nalubega nti yali musawo Mulago nti naye ajjira mu kagaali nti kiboda. So baganda bange aba boda njogera ku ekyo kuba njogera ku accident ati njogera ku bange ezisinga obungi tumalira wano mbagala nnyo era nyina obulumi nti wabaayo ababakwata nga babakwatira obwereere naye mulimu ne bebakwata nga bamukwatira nsonga n'osanga owa boda nga tanaabangako okumala emyezi 2 naye avuga muntu oyo muyimirize mwabali ku stage mugambe jacket eddugala tetuula ku stage chairman wa stage take charge buli stage mubeere ne saako musevinge nga sente mumanye nti ku luno ono gwe tukozeeko account for everyone. Do I support you introducing chips microchips mu border ye kuba nabo bababbako nnyo pikipiki naye kati wano tujja kumanya yiye yagitutte esibidde wano kuba ate ono ogijjako oti border jobye microchip tetujja kugamba weeri naye ziyinza okujja twandisabye gavumenti boda oba pikipiki ezijja microchip ebeere mu fuel tank bw'agibba oli bw'ajjako fuel tank ate anaagivuganga gaali kuba nabo abaana bababbako boda enkya n'eggulu waliwo raketi ekola ego n'ezitemamu spare. So waliwo ambuuza wano honorable omusolo ku gundi ku ttaka ogwo gwavaako teriyo withholding tax ku ttaka kuliko stamp kitegeeza ez'endagaano ng'okola transfer wagula mmeka stamp yeeyo stamp duty okustampingira. So mbeegayiridde bannange bw'oba oyina nga todduka topakuka take your time. Kakati abaliko abamanyi b'ensonga zino ngenda kubawaayo bantu bana tunyumyemu bana bokka. Wandikako ekigambo invite me oba onyigwe request nkuyite wano. Onyiga ka request ndooza ka button akabaako obutwa obubiri. Ne nkuyita ne twogera very quickly n'obuuza ekibuuzo kyo kikyobadde osuubira mu state of the nation ne kitwolaba eggwanga lyo. Kuba bino byenjogedde has been my perspective. It's not final, it's not absolute. Of course, the state of the nation erimu bingi ebirala. Transport, increase mu houses, government esuubira etya oku increasing houses okukendeeza ku bbeeyi ya rent, ebintu bingi. Okay? Sending the request. Onyiga akaliko obutwa obubiri. Invite me. Microchip. Wandike ekigambo mbalabye mwenna mubaddeko nze bino byenjagala. Let us talk business. Okay? Mukasa roha toyina gundi kandabe ku bana abaliko njagala kamera so focus should be there. So ababoda bange mbagala nnyo n'abataxi bakyusaamu tebakyamala ga parking buli we basanze, but you'll improve. So boda mbegayiridde mbagala mukyali balamu mbagala nnyo naye baba nkoyo okubeera mu ddwaliro Lubega bamutomedde gundi takyalabika gundi yagwa eddalu omutwe gwakolaki kakati